Bonjour and welcome back to the shed. Now I've taken a small break from working on the car because I've had an impulsive weekend trip to France with my daughter, who's sat in the back there behind that filthy door. But yeah, so we drove down to Newhaven yesterday. It took us 4 hours to get there. We took the ferry across to Dieppe, which was another 4 hours, and then we come about half an hour inland to a place in the middle of nowhere, halfway between Dieppe and Rouen, to stay in a nice little shepherd's hut. And yeah, so far the car's been going really well, touch wood. I don't want to jinx it, but it's a perfect holiday mobile. The new brakes are working really well. I've still got a little bit of vibration when braking at high speed, so I think maybe got some wear in the bottom ball joints or track control arms or something. But other than that, yeah, no, she's going really well. I regret not giving that door a clean before coming. I probably had a few funny looks at it because of that. But yeah, just going to go and find some breakfast now. Unfortunately, the weather's turned. Yesterday it was nice and warm, but today and tomorrow, which is our last day, both look like rain. So we're going to make the best of it and go and find some traditional French food, breakfast to start with. I think some pain au chocolat, and see what we can see in France. Well, we had a lovely couple of days exploring the beautiful countryside of Normandy, sampling lots of the local food and drink. I love visiting France, and if you've not been, ignore the naysayers. I can highly recommend it. It's a great and easy place to visit from the UK. It was my daughter's first ever trip abroad. She had great fun and got quite attached to Daddy's silver BMW, which actually performed really well, considering its unloved state when I bought it. We did have one little faux pas, which involved us getting stranded on the ferry as it arrived back in the UK, but that was my fault for leaving a cool box plugged in and flattening the battery. It was actually quite a novelty to be the only car on the boat, and gave me a good photo opportunity if nothing else. Anyway, that's enough fun. I need to show you what else I'd done to the car in order to get it ready for this trip. Finally, spring's here and we've got such a lush day, and it actually turns out it's my birthday as well, so what a treat. But we're working our way through the problems on this X3. Today we're going to change the transfer case oil because, well, hopefully that will cure what I thought was a misfire, was actually some issue with the transfer case. I guess the oil's probably never been changed. Hasn't thrown a code for degraded oil, but I'm hoping this will fix it, because at the moment we're in two-wheel drive with the transfer case module unplugged to eradicate the problem that manifests as a feels like a misfire. So we'll get that changed, and fingers crossed it'll sort the problem. This is the oil we're going to use. It's genuine BMW DTF1. Not that I'd have known that before buying it, but it's very expensive. It's about £40 a litre, but luckily I only need 700cc for a fill. I'll measure what comes out actually, because I think it'd be interesting to see what's actually left in there. But this is obviously the best stuff to use because it's manufacturer approved and it's reassuringly expensive. Although it's a ridiculously hot day, I don't want to mess up my t-shirt and get my hair full of crap, so I'm going to put a hoodie on. Obviously it has the potential to be a messy job, so good second-hand pair of Ed Chinas never goes amiss. I've got my trusty 16mm spanner, which is pretty much all I need to start with. Oh, I need a bucket of some kind. Okay, this will tell us how much we've lost. Just empty what's left in there. I've got my little mechanic's mattress on the floor. And I'm going to go in from the left-hand side, because I've just been driving it to warm it up a bit, and I don't fancy lying under a raging hot exhaust, because I will burn myself. Okay, so this is the transfer case. That's the fill plug, that's the drain plug. So good practice is always to undo that one first, because if you undo that one first and it goes wrong, you're then stranded because you can't refill it. 16mm spanner. Oh, she is tight. Had to do that off camera so as not to upset the purists, but I had to use two spanners connected together, which is not best practice, I know, but it's always worked for me and I've never broken a spanner. Just in case this has anything to give, because we are jacked up at the front and not the back, so. Oh, there it is, the beautiful smell of transmission oil. Now to undo the drain plug. Equally tight. Oh, look at that, perfect. Let's see what the damage is. Place your bets. Yeah, shade over 600, maybe 625, so maybe we lost 25-ish, being generous, so she's down a bit. Got a couple of new copper washers here for the fill and the drain plugs. I'm just going to anneal them so they can press better under the torque of the plugs. There we are, simple as that. I'm going to use one of these fluid transfer pumps, which if you haven't got one, I can highly recommend. These are absolutely brilliant. They're minimal mess, much more accurate. And yeah, you can pump from obviously from the bottom of the can, because you have extension pieces for deeper cans that go on like that. Okay, yeah, so you can see we'll need an extension piece on here. God, that stuff stinks. Oh, yeah, that should get us down past the 700mm mark, which is where we want to be. Just screws on like so, and then you can pump away. I won't do it now, obviously. So, drain plug, fill plug even, torque wrench, bottle, and you may as well come too. Obviously start off with the drain plug first. Well, I don't know if that's obvious or not, but that's the way to do it if you don't want even more mess. Okay, so the scale on the side of this can, obviously there's a litre in there, so I'm going to assume that's a pretty accurate litre of fluid. So we want to pump down to the 300mm mark down here. We've also got to account for what ends up in the pipes. So we'll make a mark at the top there where the litre is. We'll pump the pipe full just to the point of starting to fill the case. Make another mark there, and then we can transfer that same gap down to below the 300mm mark, and that will give us a net 700mm difference. Okay, if you can see that, that's the top mark. Stick the hose into the case. Alright, so we start to pump. So there we are. Okay, so we're pumped right up to the top, but we're not filled anything. But you look at the height difference, if you can see it. So that mark is where we were, and that's where we are now. And the transfer case hasn't seen anything yet, so that's where a lot of people could come a cropper with underfilling. Right, let's fill. Fill? Okay, I reckon that's as near as damn it. Click, click. Oh, as nice as this hoodie is, it's not for today. But cheers, Reese. We get her back on the ground now and go for a drive. Now, I'm not expecting it to be perfect from the off, because these things have a tendency to want to learn new things rather than just know them instantaneously, like in the Matrix. I know Kung Fu. But hopefully that'll do the trick. So we'll plug the transfer case module back in, because I'm quietly confident, and go for a drive, and hopefully at some point on that drive the misfire will disappear. Okay, so the warning lights disappear as soon as you plug the transfer case back in, the module. I felt one little jolt when we pulled out. Touch wood. Oh, hello. Well-placed road signs. Definitely seems better, whether it's 100% yet. Time/miles will tell. A hell of a lot better than what it was. Oh, way better. We've done about 8 miles now, and I'd say that was 99% fixed. There's occasionally a very slight little, I don't know what you call it, a judder. It feels like a misfire, but obviously it's not. And I dare say the average driver wouldn't notice anything wrong at all. It's only because I'm sort of tuned into it now that I'm looking for it. But yeah, I'd say that was fixed. So it's time to fix the bodywork now. So I've had a quick look on Facebook Marketplace, found somebody breaking a silver X3. Annoyingly, it's up in Coventry, which is like hour and 30-40 minutes away. So I've jumped in the van and we're on our way. Got about 55 minutes to go. Nice sunny day. I got a Joe Rogan episode on, so living the dream. Let's go get it. There we go, got ourselves a nice Titan silver door, even got the glass with it, so that's the result. Let's get back in the van and get home. Well, being up this way, it would have been rude not to do just a little bit of sightseeing, so I dropped into Wellesbourne Mountford Airfield to take a look at XM's 655, which to you and me is an Avro Vulcan nuclear bomber. Anyway, after that, another 10 minutes in the van got me to Caffeine and Machine for a spot of lunch. Unfortunately, the place was absolutely dead as it was a weekday, so in lieu of any Lambos, I had to take a picture of the van next to a police car. That was it for my little foray into Warwickshire, so after that, it was back home to get this new door fitted. Well, I finally made it back home after a bit of sightseeing. The door is still in one piece, as you can see, with my jury-rigged strapping. So let's get it off, and being as the weather's actually been quite kind to us this afternoon, we'll bring the X3 down and see if we can get the door changed over and back in the dry before the inevitable happens. At first glance, this door looks pretty good actually. Although it's filthy, it actually came with the glass, which I wasn't expecting, and the door handle, which is good. Doesn't look like there's any damage on it, save maybe that bit there, but that might just be dirt, it might clean off. But there's certainly no big dents on it, and it's a lot better than that. The latch and lock and stuff is missing, but like I say, the glass is there. It's just down. I put it down inside the door so it didn't fall down in on the way back. Yeah, hopefully it shouldn't be too bad. The guy even gave me the bolts actually for the hinges, so that's cool. Something that I am going to have to do, which is completely and utterly against my religion, is to take off this shadow line piece of trim and replace it so it matches with the chrome line piece that's on this door. Anyone who knows me knows that that is just, whew, gonna eat me to do that, but needs must. Easy enough to get the door off. This just 4 13mm bolts there and an 8mm bolt holding the electrical connector there. There's a Torx headed bolt for the check strap, and then just obviously the latch. So I'll undo the bolts there, and then the latch will keep the door attached to the car until I'm ready to take it off. In hindsight, what I should have done was taken those pin bolts out there and left these on. I just copied what that guy had done to take that door off. But actually it mullers the paintwork, because obviously this is painted after the doors are fitted. So yeah, they look a bit ratty now, which is a shame, but oh well, you live and learn. Well, that's one bit of damage sorted already, looks much better, although the door's obviously been left outside for a long time, so it needs a pretty good clean, but the rest of the car needs a wash now anyway. Oh, and I've just got to do that trim there, change it back to chrome. That looks better, well, in that it matches. Looks worse obviously because it's chrome, but yeah, no, that was really easy actually. I've only done it once before on my other car. I painted them black. And the trick with these is to not lever too much, just to keep working just quietly all the way along, because they're really easy to bend, and you'll never get it back straight then, and it won't sit down flush. So just tease it up from the one end and then just work your way along. But no, it's a nice little fix. Oil change next. Let's see how much mess I can make this time. I don't think I've ever done an oil change without spilling it on the floor, so this could be a first. You never know. Hello, you join me under the car. I'm about to drop the oil out. Someone's already removed the access panel and lost it somewhere, so that makes life easier, but it's just a 17mm drain plug on this one. Got my drain pan ready, so I'm gonna move it over that way a little bit, because obviously it's gonna shoot out initially. goes. It's going to sacrifice the sump plug and get out with a magnet. There she goes. New filter. Bit of Marla quality. And yes, that is how you say it. New set of seals, that's what we want. Oh look, and a sump plug washer. What a gift. Just gotta go fishing for the sump plug now. It's not aluminium, is it? No, it wouldn't be. I had a dog and his name was Bingo. New washer on there. As she's up in the air, I may as well put the under tray back on. Oh, there's a bit of work to do. There's a fastener there that needs to come out. That one's okay. That one, those two. That, whatever that's called, stress plate, support plate thing, has to come down because the two rear ones pick up on there. Those two bolts. That one there's missing, but don't think it'd be a problem. I've got some new screws to go in all of these, and some spire clips as well if there's any missing. So yeah, I just need a spanner on there. Oh, are these 17s? I don't know. No, they're not. Something smaller. 16s. Now this is something that brings me happiness. Planning ahead and buying new fasteners for stuff. So I've got BMW sized spire clips. Where's my screws? I've got some new bolts somewhere. I don't think I've put them in here, but plastic rivets, all sorts of stuff. So all the horrible corroded ones, like you just saw me take off, you can chuck them in the bin and just put all nice new ones on, and it's a thing of loveliness. Here they are. Oh look, so nice and black and shiny and new. Let's put some on the car. Isn't that just a thing of wonderful loveliness? Turns out I didn't have to take that back plate off, I was just being an idiot. Front first, then the back. I think you'll agree which one looks the best out of these two. Here we go. New plastic rivets, new screws. Solid. Oh, just do as one with a big washer on it up in there, I think, just to hold that corner. I know most people would never dream of doing this, but especially on a car that they were just doing up to sell, but I don't know, maybe it makes a difference. If someone looks underneath, it looks a lot better than no under tray or a load of bolts missing. That stinks a little. That's a thing of beauty. Sorted, right, let's fill the oil up. We'll just let it settle for 10 minutes or so now. Final little check, bang on. So 7.5 litres it is. Well, that's the oil change done. I cannot put it off any longer. I've got to wash this car. As much as I detest washing cars, I can't stand it any longer. I'm going to have to clean it. Just get a load of the roof on this thing. Doesn't that look better? Do you know, I reckon the whole car was green like that. I reckon they had engine trouble, abandoned it under a tree somewhere for a couple of years, it all went green like that. And then when it went to Copart, they gave it the quick £5 throw a bucket of water over it, wash, forgot the roof, took some semi-average photos of it to clean a bit of value into it, and that was the story. I'd love to have seen a photo of it when it was all green like that. It looked more like that one, but it probably would have meant that I didn't bid on it. So lucky they did, really. Yeah, so that's a quick snow foam jet wash. I'll go over it again now with whatever other stuff they sold me in Halfords and give it a hand wash. Yeah, it's looking really good. Do you know what, for someone that hates washing cars, I reckon I've washed more cars this year than I have in all the rest of my life put together, but it's all for a good cause. But what do you reckon of the door? I reckon that was 40 quid well spent. Tiniest little scratch there and a little bit of a blemish there through the lacquer, but other than that, it's a lot better than what was on there before. Yeah, I don't think anyone will be any the wiser. Okay, so what treats have we got for the extra? We've got some new side repeaters, because the old ones are a bit ropey. I had some more headlight repair things printed up that I've already done on my green car. Got the obligatory vanilla tree air freshener. I think this is a new gear stick, because the one that's on there is all worn and horrible. Even a new keyring, look at that. I got some caliper paint for the calipers because they're looking a bit ropey, so I'll wire brush them up when I do the new discs and pads. Got a load of new BMW screws for the arch linings because they all rusted out and whatever. There's the old wipers and the boxes for the new ones, I've done them already. Pollen filter, a rubber boot liner, and a set of mats. So, oh, and I bought some special black paint just in case I repaired the crash damage on the wheel arch, but I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing that now. Oh, they're just the new spring clips for the calipers when I do the pads. Okay, right, let's throw all this stuff on. Which way round does it go? Aha! Airflow directions on one end. How useful. God damn, this engine's hot. The most important job now, keyring. I don't know why I bought a keyring. It's just nice when you come to buy a car and you don't get handed a crappy old key that's been chewed by a dog and whatever. Just another little sign that the car's been loved, which obviously this one has. There we go. I've got oil there, but sorry, oil filter, but no oil. Have I bought it and it's not turned up? I have to check eBay. Gear stick next, I reckon. I'm sitting in the back to do this because last time I tried to take this gear stick off, it didn't budge. It's super tight on there, so I'm going for a bit of a straighter pull this time. Wish me luck. Oh, easy. Huh! Just needed the warmth of a hot day. Beautiful. Gone for a nice Chinese leatherette. Which fits about as well as you'd expect, but that's nice. I like that. Mats now. Yeah. Just some nice cheapo plain black ones. The car always looks weird without mats, even if they are cheap. Nasty ones. One, two, three, 4. Doesn't that look better? 16 quid I think that set was, well worth it. There's 1, 2, there's the other one. Boot liner next. That's better than my other one. That's a lovely job. And last but not least, indicator side repeater things. The other ones have gone a bit milky and cloudy and just look a bit rubbish, so I'm going to clean that. Lovely. And whilst we're here, these bits are really letting the side down, so let's see if we can sort them out. Fair play, that is good stuff. Let's see if we can do this one a little bit quicker. we've got a nice break in the weather and it's dry and relatively warm today, and one of the things I want to do is paint the calipers because they look really ratty. So I've got discs and pads to do on the front, pads to do on the rear, and I'm going to paint all 4 calipers. So I'll crack on with that now, and then we've got plenty of time for it to dry, hopefully, before the next bout of monsoon. But I flattened the battery yesterday when I was doing the door, so first things first, get battery charger on. You can see that the brakes are just letting the rest of the car down. The caliper's all rusty and the hub of the disc, and the disc's all scored. There's quite a bit of meat left on the pads, but yeah, they're shot really with age. Dust caps, one there and one in there. 7mm, these ones in the back. Give this all a clean up, looking a bit ratty in there, but the back plate's solid. These can be vulnerable when they rust through around the bolt heads, which is annoying, but that one's solid, so that's good, that can stay. We'll just wire brush that up, clean up that hub. I'll get the angle grinder with a wire wheel. So I started off by cleaning up the carriers with the wire wheels. A horrible job, but someone's got to do it. Then I set to on the hubs with the manual wire brush, refitted the new discs with the little retaining bolt. Then I could refit the 2 bolts that hold the carrier onto the hub, remembering to torque up the bolts. There's the shiny new pads, remembering to put some lubricant on them to stop any squeal or binding. That's a crucial step, taking out the cap for the brake fluid reservoir. Then I could clean up the seal before using this special tool, which is a brake caliper piston rewind tool, to force the piston back in. You can see it going back in there. This is to take account of the wear of the previous pads to give you room to fit the new thicker pads. Just making sure to clean off any lubricant or residual fluids. Then I fitted the new pads in. The inner pad has clips that go into the piston there, which can be a bit tricky sometimes, but it's handy once they're in because the pad can't fall out. A little bit of lubricant on the inner pad, making sure I don't get it on the friction surface. Then it's just a case of putting the caliper back on and then reinserting the retaining bolts, which double up as sliders, which are what allows the caliper to slide in and out as you apply the brakes. I just cleaned up the wheel bolts with the wire wheel on a grinder because they were looking a bit minging. I gave them a soak beforehand in white vinegar, which is really good for lifting rust off. Even the short time that they've been in there, they come out really well actually, so plenty of life left in them. They were just looking a bit grotty. The rear brakes weren't actually too bad, so I just set to again with the wire wheel on the angle grinder and put a lick of paint on the caliper and a bit on the hub part of the disc just to smarten them up a bit. The other side about the back plates corroding through at the bolts. Look at that. So this is obviously what I could hear. You see the scuff mark around here? This is obviously what I could hear on the test drive. I think I commented about it. It sounded like something was scuffing, but it was obviously that, where it's just contacting the back of the brake disc. So I'll see if I can get these bolts out and then put some big washers on to keep it in place, just because I haven't got one of these and I need to get the car back together, so that'll be a fine interim solution. Anyway, I've just cut down some 6mm bolts, M6 bolts, sorry, down to 8mm long to match what came out of there, because they had captive washers on which I couldn't get off and they're not big enough, so I've drilled out some M5 sized penny washers, so hopefully they'll do the trick. There we are, much better. A little bit of movement in there, but I'm not worried about that. And that's it. So new disc and pads on the front and painted calipers, new retaining springs. I think they look pretty good. Wheels obviously need a clean, and the backs, yeah, just titivated, bit of paint on the hub of the disc, and the calipers painted, so looks a lot better. Oh, and that back plate sorted out as well, so it should sound better, brake better. Okay, so with all that done, let's get back to the purpose of this video, which is to establish whether or not I can buy a car from Copart, do it up, sell it, and make a profit. So what's it cost me? This is a list of the main areas where I've spent money on this car. There's probably a few pounds and pence elsewhere that I've forgotten about, but this will make up the bulk of the costs. So it's in chronological order, if anyone was wondering why it's such a random looking list. So let's fill in the blank. So to go up to Copart to fetch the car, it cost me £60 in fuel. For exhaust gaskets and air filter was £28. Random bolts, nuts and screws was £12. A swirl flap delete kit was £40. Vacuum hose and nuts, £11. Air freshener was £1. Floor mats, £14. What a bargain. Boot liner, £24. Probably could have done without that. Keyring, £6. Could definitely have done without that. Transfer case oil, £40. Essential. Oil filter, £12. Screws for the under tray, £4. Engine oil, £44. The shiny new indicator repeaters were £26. Gear knob was £11. That's a bargain. New wipers, £19. Pollen filter was £15. Bit more fuel was £20. That was to go and get the door. For discs, pads, springs and caliper paint was £100. Temporary insurance to get it to the MOT was £35. The new door was £40. That was a bargain. Bit more fuel. Can't remember where that was to. Another £40. New battery was £55. The listing on Auto Trader was £25. Put some new tyres on, cost me £90. The purchase price of the car, including the Copart fees, was £1,629. That added to the total price of the parts, which was £810. All in comes to £2,439. So that's what I've got to make back. You could argue that a number of the things on that list weren't needed, but I think that it's often the attention to detail which makes an impression on potential buyers. Well, I don't know about you, but I reckon that's one hell of a lot of car for the money. I love these E83s because they're such good all-rounders. That's why I've actually run one as my daily driver for about 5 years now, and there's still very little I can find fault with. In my opinion, they really are a good combination of performance, practicality and good looks for not a lot of money. They make great tow vehicles, and despite what people say, with some decent tyres on, they can hold their own as a four-wheel drive too. The fact that this particular car also has the relatively rare manual gearbox will hopefully make it that bit more desirable to potential buyers, and it really does enhance the driving experience too. So after doing all the work to this car and taking it to France, like as you've just seen, I listed it for sale on Auto Trader, eBay, Facebook Marketplace. Had an underwhelming response, if I'm honest. I did have a few people who seemed genuinely interested but went off to buy other cars and whatnot, but ended up having an inquiry yesterday from a friend of mine who just had to scrap a car, a Kia Sorento that was his vehicle he used for towing a trailer, and asked if I had anything kicking about that had a tow bar in it that was capable of towing his trailer. So I said, yeah, I've got this X3. It's still got valid MOT. It's just been through it and done a load of work on it, new brakes, sorted out the boosting problem, transfer case oil's been done, engine oil's been done, all this kind of stuff. So agreed a deal at £3,000. So not what I wanted for it, but it was to a friend. It gives me maybe £50 a day for the days that I've spent working on it, which is better than a loss, and so I'll take that. And it does go some way to answer the initial question of this video as to whether or not you can make a profit from Copart. No matter how small it is, a profit is still a profit. So I'm not going to moan about it. But of course, applying sod's law, agreed the deal yesterday, took the car out last night to had to drive to town, and literally half an hour before I left, we'd gone on the test drive and it drove faultlessly. I drove my friend up and down the road. He was perfectly happy with it. Half an hour later, when I jumped in the car to take it to town, I had the triad of warning lights that is synonymous with X3s come up on the dash, but they didn't just come up and stay there. They were coming up and going away, and kept doing that, and I'd feel a jolt through the transmission every time that the lights would come on. So I've got a problem to fix. I plugged it in this morning and scanned the fault codes with INPA, which is the BMW software, and a whole load of fault codes come up as you normally get. A lot of those are associated to having previously had a flat battery, ones that I hadn't cleared. That generates all sorts of spurious codes. So cleared them, and 2 have come back. And one of them says is a communication error with the transfer case, and the second one is an even more vague description. It's in German, so I have to translate on there, and the translation is basically as vague as could be. I couldn't decipher a specific thing. So on the forum I leapt, put the fault codes in, and apparently, even though it's The one code is specifically relating to the transfer case. It's nothing to do with the transfer case, it's to do with wheel speed sensors. God only knows why a Duff wheel speed sensor would trigger a transfer case fault code, because there are specific fault codes for wheel speed sensors, which I've had in the past and replaced them on other X3s. But they do suffer with a common issue, these cars, where the reluctor rings on the drive shafts rust, swell, and then they basically erode the tips of the speed sensors and cause them to malfunction. I have looked at the live data for the wheel speed sensors and they all look like they're performing perfectly fine, but that doesn't mean that the car isn't picking up a fault on one or more of them. So again, it's just fraught with red herrings, this fault diagnosis game, if you're not an expert, as I'm not. So what I'm going to do now is whip the rear wheels off, because I think that's what most people are saying, is that it's generally the rear ones that cause this fault code. Whip the speed sensors out, look at the tips. If they've got any kind of damage on, then I'm pretty confident that that's going to be what's at fault. And I've got known good wheel speed sensors on other X3s, so I'll be able to swap one in and hopefully deliver this car later on to its new owner. Oh, I've just got to swap the rear wash wipe over as well, because I noticed that's not working. But again, I've got a good used one on another car. Annoyingly, a lot of my kit's not here, so I've got to use the horrible BMW jack and wheel chock and stuff. But it gets the job done. Okay, so there's the speed sensor. Whoops. Need a 5mm Allen key to get that out and give it a little inspect. Here we go, let's have a look at this. Now, the last time I did one of these, it was quite obvious that it had been eroded on the tip, but I don't think this one has been, because you can still see from where it's injection molded, that's a flash line there where the tool splits, and you can still see that across the end. So if it had been eroded away, I think you'd see it more clearly. Well, there does seem to be a funny mark there, which I don't remember on the other one, but that doesn't mean it wasn't there. Oh well, I'll leave that one out for now. Pop the other one out so we can compare the two. See if I can show you the reluctor ring. You can see down in there, it doesn't actually look that bad, that one, so yeah, I'd say this side is probably okay. Just to preempt any future problems, I could do the same mod that I did in my other car and put a little copper washer under there, and it just jacks it up slightly and prolongs the inevitable contact between the sensor and the reluctor ring. It's just a couple of copper washers, and I have to file a little divot in the one to clear the other. A hell of a lot cheaper than replacing perfectly good ABS sensors. That one's very dirty. Looks just the same as the other one. No contact there. Of course, what it could be is some internal fault. I mean, I think I said I looked at the live data for all four sensors, and they're all reading exactly the same, and they go up and down with vehicle speed. I'm skeptical as to whether or not it is these speed sensors. Everybody online seems absolutely adamant that it is, but yeah, I don't know. That's the rear sensors checked and spaced. Let's take it for a spin, see if that's solved the problem. I'm not expecting it to have, but this does seem a weird one, so expect the unexpected, I suppose. There we go. Haven't even got off the drive. You can see that. So we've got ABS, handbrake, tyre pressure monitoring, and four-wheel drive system. Oh well, back her up and check the front ones now, I suppose. What's the bet that it's not going to be the wheel speed sensors? Here's the front right. Oops, even dirtier condition, but again, I don't think it looks like it's been touched. I'll clean it up and have a better look. It does have a tiny little bit of damage there, but that looks more like some kind of impact damage rather than... Could that be it? I don't know. Number 4, the front left. Again, no reluctor ring contact by the look of that. Take it for another spin, and well, inevitably the lights are going to come back on, so drawn a bit of a blank there for the moment. I have to get back online and see what other people are saying. Place your bets. Will we even get off the driveway this time? Nope, there they are. Well, what a waste of time that was. Back to square one, baby. Well, there's one slight change. They now are staying on and not going off at all. So hopefully that means that something was breaking and is now broken and will give us a more specific fault code to follow. Watch this space. Okay, so it's now throwing two different fault codes as well. The rear left and rear right wheel speed sensor air gap too large. So that means that the reluctor rings on the back are fine, because when I did exactly the same mod on my other X3, when those reluctor rings had swelled and machined the tips off the sensors, when I packed them out, it was fine. So obviously as it's swollen and I've packed the thing up, it's maintained the air gap that it's looking for. So the reluctor rings must be in the right place, and where I've just packed them up, the air gap's now too big. So I've actually created a problem in trying to fix another one. So I have to take both the back ones back out, take all the washers out that I put in. So after undoing my hard work, I fruitlessly pondered and researched this problem for a week, but just happened to get lucky when driving the car a few days later. The fault became permanent rather than intermittent as it had been, so I scanned for faults again. There was a new one showing that the left rear wheel speed sensor was toast. In my excitement, I completely forgot to record myself going to harvest a sensor from my other car, which is off the road at the moment, and 10 minutes later it was back to fault-free motoring. The last remaining issue to solve was the rear wash wipe, which unbelievably was just to a missing fuse. I'm never that lucky. At that point, I was then able to drop the car off with its new owner, so I can now officially state that I have made £540 profit on a Copart car. Now I realise that I've used the wheeler dealers method of not counting working hours into this video, which of course you'd have to if you were doing this for a living. But I just wanted to prove the concept that you can still buy a car from Copart and turn a profit on it, albeit a small one. But that being said, on this car specifically, somebody who was better set up than me that could dedicate more time to it could probably have actually done it for less cost, made slightly more profit, and it would be a legitimate car to contribute towards running somebody's business. But a word of warning, as with any vehicle purchase, especially those where you're bidding blind for something, you've got to be very careful when bidding on Copart, because they can be quite sneaky. But that's not to say that you shouldn't do it. You should just factor these things into your bid amounts and not get carried away, and basically expect the worst case scenario and hope for the best. So for those of you that are like I was, that perhaps haven't quite got the confidence to go out and try it, I hope that gives you the confidence to go and give it a whirl, and yeah, good luck. Anyway, thanks ever so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.